And hello, welcome to London Paddington, and I'm Powerflower Trains and Planes, and this is the 150th video of the channel. So I thought I'd do a run today from Paddington to Penzance, or at least as much as we can do in Train Sim World. So we're going to be doing Paddington to Reading, and then we're going to take the West Cornwall local DLC from St Austell through to Penzance. So quick run through the concourse. It's funny, isn't it, that this idea of static passengers, they've not replicated since. In some ways it probably would be a better solution than the sort of mess that we have with some of the current things about passenger movement, has to be said. So we are going to take a IET, which is a intercity express train, class 800. Of course, it's LNER Azuma really reliveried into a class 800, but they're very, very similar. So let us get the train set up. Master key on. Headlights, well, I don't know about full actually. I think that's probably asking a bit, but we'll sort that out in a second. Let's just get these control panels into order. We need to get the reverser into forward.
TPWS and AWS operational.
So I'll get the doors unlocked. It does say next stop Swindon actually, but that's not quite right. We're actually going to be stopping at Reading. So marker, yeah, I think that'll do. It just doesn't look quite so intense, does it? We aren't due away until 12:06. Now this is a scenario created by Jazzdebezz, and I've done another of his scenarios recently on the live stream. I might even have done this one in the distant past, and we were driving the sort of 710, which has been reliveried as the 345. And don't forget, before the sort of Elizabeth line station was opened a few years back now, of course for a while the 345s did actually occupy the mainline part of the station. They might do occasionally as well when Paddington when the Elizabeth line part might be closed, say bank holidays. Occasionally it's happened. I don't know about this upcoming bank holiday. A famous old station, Paddington, and ran its first services from the 16th of January 1854, and I was bit saddened to see that the statue of Isambard, King de Prenal, that is in the station in real life, isn't actually in the game, but he is surveying the scene. I think it's between platforms 8 and 9, I think I'm right in saying. And I think if he would have been alive today, he would have looked at the scene and he would have thought, well, it's still pretty similar to what I created, and I think he'd be interested to see the modern developments as well. So we'll lock our doors in preparation for our 12:06 departure. So we would, in theory, we'd be fully electric mode all the way to Reading, and we'll kind of keep it like that because we'll pretend that the overhead electrification is fully completed. Of course, it isn't in the game. And for the eagle-eyed, I'm sure we'll notice that the 345s are all 4-car rather than the full length. And there are correct formations actually in the game, but this scenario was created a little while back, so you can't I can't personally go in and modify an existing scenario that's come from Creators Club. But you know, there's nothing stopping anybody from creating one from scratch. I always think it's a great shame that we don't have cruise control in the game as well, because that would be realistic for this 800 IET. It's probably more realistically would be a 802 really, so whether we call it an 800 or an 802, I don't think it's actually got any numbering on it, so probably doesn't matter. Oh no, it has, yeah, it has got a numbering, yeah, 802, yeah, that would be appropriate for a long distance working. Because I think the, excuse me, I think the diesel tank is more capacity, because obviously it's a long old ride through to Penzance. So we go up to 50 now. So the plan with this run today is we'll take this as far as Reading, and then we'll join West Cornwall local for a service, kind of the equivalent service, which would be the 1557 from St Erth all through to Penzance. And then when we get to Penzance, we'll join a HST and take that out back out to St Erth. Of course, the HST is still in use just about on castle services, I believe. And then when we get to St Erth, we'll have a ride and we'll join the train as a foot passenger for the brief branch line journey to St Ives, and then we'll more or less just show the outside view of that, and you can see the amazing views as it crosses sort of coastal wise. Of course, sadly, Old Oak Common Depot, such a famous name synonymous with the Great Western Mainline, is no longer a thing. There's a Heathrow Express train on the right. Some great reskins that are available. Now, it's pointed out to me recently in the stream that it might be possible to go into the public editor and add the catenary. I've always understood it that you can't really modify existing routes, but I've done a little bit more research, and I think the suggestion is, well, you wouldn't be actually modifying the route, you'd be adding scenery. So I think it probably is technically possible, but I've only got as far as actually downloading the editor. Seems quite a complicated process. So whether I'll ever get round to doing anything more, I don't know. Something I'd love to do, I'd love to see a fully electrified Paddington to Reading, because even without the branch lines, it would add massively to this route. Now I know we've got the GWE remaster, which was originally announced at Trainsim World 5, but looks like it's going to be, well, almost certainly it'll be TSW6 now. But as far as I know, I think it's very, well, we know definitely it's kind of set in a period before the main electrification took place. Now, it is, of course, perfectly possible with the aid of TrainSim Classic. You can do the whole full run from Paddington to Penzance, or vice versa. And King K Gamer recently did the full run from Penzance to Paddington in TrainSim Classic. Very good video it is as well. And of course it remains endless speculation about the Great Western involvement in TSW6, because we know that we know that DTG have acquired the license once again for Great Western. So if you're watching this sort of a few days after I've recorded this, then you'll be thinking, what's he on about? We know all the news about TSW6, but as I'm recording this is on the Friday before the announcements are coming out on the Tuesday. So I've got a strong suspicion, because I'm sure they've not just acquired the license for Great Western again just for the purposes of the Great Western Express remaster. So it would make a lot of sense that they were going to do an 800 or an 802 with proper interior seating. I mean, the reskin on this is lovely, but it would be nice to get a complete new version of it. And we also know that they've acquired the cross-country license, so again, I can't believe that they've done that just for the purposes of creating the 170 on the cross-city line. So I think a safe bet would be a Voyager. So many people expect that this Great Western new route for TSW6 is going to be Exeter to Plymouth, and that would make sense because it's about an hour's journey. I mean, personally, I'd love to see Bristol Temple Meads being included, because it's one of those great stations, and again a real landmark in terms of Isambard King de Brunel's achievements. But of course, if we do have Exeter to Plymouth, then it does at least mean that we will be able to drive past the famous piece of railway along the seawall at Dawlish. And in particular, I mean, it kind of starts off, I think, at Starcross, doesn't it? But to go through Dawlish Warren and Dawlish and onto Teignmouth would be absolutely magnificent. But I just hope, if it is Exeter to Plymouth, that we've got the Paynton branch included as well, at least, because that would add a little bit of variety. I mean, I was talking about Bristol Temple Meads, but I mean, the one thing I will say is that I'm not overly bothered about the section between Bristol, Temple Meads and Exeter, and I only say that because I remember it from Train Sim Classic, and even the enhanced version that we have now from Just Trains. It's just a tad boring, really. It's flat, not particularly exciting to drive. Yeah, you just have to imagine that there is overhead catenary. And the good thing is, when we get to St Austell and we do the West Cornwall local, then we should be able to be going in diesel mode. And there is a really nice timetable mod on the Train Sim community website, which basically includes a modern day version of that route, because of course it was, as it was built by Rivet Games, it was set in the 1990s. We've kind of already gone past Airport Junction, which was the original section that was electrified for the Heathrow Express. This is Slough. We're having the discussion on the forums the other day about if you work from England, say the forums, I mean in the live stream, if you work from England, that you might call this slough. And if you are enjoying the video, by the way, you're not a new subscriber, or you're not subscribed already to the channel, then I'd be massively grateful if you consider liking and subscribing. And I'm sure there's going to be a great deal of interest in the game as we build towards TSW5, and I for one can't wait for the announcements, I must admit. I'm a 50-odd-year-old schoolboy, excitedly looking forward to Christmas Day. Now, I rode on one of these 802s only last week, actually, in the middle of well, getting towards the end now of my 2-week holiday from work, and I did a run from Cardiff to Paddington. So I mean, a lot of people criticise them, say, well, they're not a patch in terms of comfort on the old HSDs, and I kind of get that, but I must admit it was a very comfortable, enjoyable ride. I loved the smoothness. There's always something quite exciting about the acceleration of an electric compared with a diesel unit, because with a diesel you are kind of pulling away a little bit sluggishly. I don't know whether I might have missed it actually. I think that was. I think I'm right in saying that was Maidenhead. What I was desperately trying to do is actually capture a view of the single span bridge that goes over the Thames, and it was again a great achievement by Brunel, who surely has to rank as one of the greatest engineers of all time. But he had the idea of building a single span bridge over the Thames, and of course there was a lot of scepticism at the time, and people said it would collapse within months, but sort of 150 odd years later it's still standing. And I think, as somebody remarked on I think it was on the Wikipedia page actually, but it was kind of like, it's still obviously carrying trains today, but not only that, they're trains that are considerably heavier and longer than Brunel could ever have envisaged from the outset. But it's tremendous credit to his skills. And of course, some of our older viewers will still remember the days of steam along this line, and the last days of steam in the 60s, and also the hydraulics in the 70s, so the Western and the Hymic. Now, I've always said that they were ultimately, I think, they didn't last the course because they were non-standard really as part of the network, but I've always believed them to be quite unreliable. And somebody was commenting on the live stream recently, they said, well, they have been reliable in other parts of the world, it's just the fact that there wasn't enough money spent on maintaining them properly. And of course then we come to the sort of the mid-70s, 76 onwards, I think I'm right in saying, the HSDs came in, and they were the fastest diesel train in the world, and there was great excitement about that. And of course British Rail then embarked on a major advertising campaign. And I think I'm right in saying that the HSTs were used on the Great Western prior to being used on the East Coast Main Line. So if you do want to watch the full length of the route, I'd encourage you to have a look at King K Gamer's scenario that he uploaded in the last few weeks. If I remember, I might put it in the description, because it's good. But we are about 3 miles away from Reading now, so we'll get some brakes on, get down to 95. We are coming in on platform 7. So we've got 95, then 60, then 50. Still a fairly fast approach though for a major station to come in at 50, and of course Reading's kind of a bit of a hub with trains from Birmingham have come in from the cross-country network. This is using a mod as well, sound mod on the Trainsim community website. We get a nice reassuring thud as we go over the points. I think that's the line from Waterloo coming in on our left. That would be a good Trainsim World route as well, wouldn't it, at some point? I think there's many people who would love to see Waterloo in the game. I don't know whether DTG are a bit scared about bigger stations again after releasing London Euston. So we don't have a full timetable mode in this modern setting with the IET. So it's a great thank you to Jazzdebezz for creating this scenario, because I think it gives a lovely atmosphere with all the IETs at this end of the line, with the Elizabeth line trains, with the Heathrow Express as well. Try and stop in roughly the right place. Well, this is Reading. Of course, again, massively different than the station was only a few years ago. Yeah, it shows we've got a mod installed there because we've actually got the WH Smith symbols, and I love the fact with TSW that we do get the concourse properly done overhead as well, like that. I'm just using the camera 8 mode. Because you can go a bit farther. I think I've got some sort of mod in as well which kind of unlocks some of the barriers as well. Okay, so we're on West Cornwall local and we're at St Austell, and let's get our train set up. I suppose in theory we wouldn't be doing this if we were kind of carrying on the journey, but we'll assume that we are a new driver again, as it were. Markers only again, I think. Good thing is it does say there that it's Truro, our next destination, so it is working nicely, and I do know that the pantograph's down as well, so we do have a feeling of realism. So let's get these things put into normal.
TPWS and AWS operational.
There we go. And yeah, I think it's clever how, even though this is the Azuma, basically the LNER Azuma, it does at least recognise our location, which is really good. So again, that should help massively if this has been remodelled for a forthcoming Great Western route. Watch it. left door's locked, I wanted to do. One thing you can't fault Rivet Games is that these stations are absolutely beautifully modelled. And a very quaint looking old signal box, which again, it's nice to see that it's not absolutely clean. It looks quite weathered and needs it. Looks as though it's in need of some a bit of a facelift. So in terms of this service now, we're going to be calling at Truro, Redruth, Camborne, Hale, St Erth and then Penzance. It's always a bit of an odd starting point for the route, really, St Austell. It felt like, you know, all due respect to St Austell, it's a relatively small place in Cornwall, and I mean, the absolute logical point to have started it, really, I know it's not in Cornwall, would have been Plymouth in Devon. And that's one of my concerns. I mean, if it does turn out that the TSW5 route, say, is Exeter to Plymouth, for example, it just means we've got 3 bits of the Great Western Mainline which don't connect with each other, and that's kind of one of my gripes, really. I love to feel that we're extending routes, even if it's not kind of one all in sort of extent, or, you know, if it's not one long route as a whole. But it'd be nice to think you can do little bits of routes, because lots of these services would stop at lots of these locations, so it wouldn't bother me that much about reloading the game up at a different location. I think the thing here, it's an interesting section here where we deviate away. So you've still basically got a 2-lined operation, but completely different curvatures for the up and down line. Well, this would be the up line going towards Cornwall. I presume the down line's going towards London anyway. But this is almost like a stoppage service. It's interesting that, you know, if you gain the full distance from Paddington to Penzance, you kind of feel as though it's an express service from Paddington, certainly through to Bristol, and probably you could just about say to Exeter, and even a little bit beyond, even going through Dawlish. But beyond that, and particularly when you go into the last stage, it almost feels like it's a relatively slow stopping service. Kind of hoping to enjoy this, because I mean, it's a couple of years now at least, isn't it, since West Cornwall Local came out, and to be quite honest, I don't think I've ever actually done a full run from St Austell to Penzance. Kind of set out to do one of those sprinter runs and just got bored after a few minutes of driving. I've done the St Erth to St Ives a number of times. I mean, that is quite stunning, and we'll have a look at that a little bit later on. There's one place you're really in need of cruise control, it's here. There's lots of bridges, viaduct sections that they've had to put in. We don't really hug the coastline until the very last bit into Penzance itself, and you can see St Michael's Mount. But for all the wonders of, you know, sort of the Dawlish section, when you get into this part of Cornwall, it's beautiful. Without being particularly spectacular, if that's possible. And I imagine very much if this was a summer Saturday service, it would be pretty busy, because Cornwall certainly does get really busy during the summer. But yeah, it's a fairly lazy and relatively slow meander through this part of Cornwall, and you do feel that as a passenger it feels as though it's stopping quite regularly, and it's almost as though it's a forgotten part of the world, but it's kind of, there's no major motorways. Well, there's no motorways at all, I don't think, in Cornwall. I think they made the main A road now, haven't they, as a dual carriageway. But it's kind of as though they've never felt a need to upgrade it and to have a faster service. We don't go on like this with the one track forever. I mean, there's enough space alongside us to assume that there was another track at this point. You often get that feeling travelling on the trains in real life. You just know that it's been streamlined, but when there is land allowing where you feel as though the trees and the embankments and the cuttings are a little bit further back, you just know that there was a time when it was two tracks. As it is here. So this is the modern timetable for this route. So this is from TradeSim community websites. It automatically installs various reskins. It's been done by Enviromag and Mac 47. But it adds, I think they said something like 120 services. So you're not going to get trains coming past you every 5 seconds. I mean, we had one just after we left St Austell, but we've not seen another one since. It's still and never will be the most busy of lines. Coming towards Truro, not too far away. Of course, Truro is significant in the context of Cornwall. I almost feel as though I could be watching an episode of Doc Martin. I'm sure Truro would be where he would get off on his journeys from London. That's all filmed at the beautiful place of Port Isaacs, which is worth going in its own right. Yeah, it just feels very restrictive to be going at 65 mile an hour on this section. It's you know, you kind of think that if there was more of a desire to do so, that they could have straightened this line out. Obviously difficult with all the hills and everything else. That's why there's so many bridges and viaducts and sections and stuff. I think in a way I'm reminding myself why I haven't driven this line absolutely massively. Well, you can't criticise that tunnel for not being dark. Hey, up, it's another train. We might get to see a HST. I don't know whether, I presume if we see a HST it'll be in the shorter formation representing the castle sets as they are now. Kind of the name's a throwback to the steam locos, of course. Finally, we're getting civilization. I mean, I don't know for certain. I've not studied any cab view journeys of this line for quite some time, so I don't know whether the semaphore stuff is still in place. Always seems to be the way with TSW these days, doesn't it? There's not exactly a myriad of people waiting for us. So I presume it'll be a fairly easy timetable to keep, really. Oh, we're not due away till 16:02, so actually I'll keep them unlocked. I presume the signal is not going to change. I don't know whether there's another single track section coming up, but I presume it won't change until departure time. Yeah, it does say destination Penzance as well in the corner, and Red Ruth. I still haven't finished loading the passengers. Right, now it's allowing us to lock the doors. We're still very much on red, aren't we? So yeah, we do have a single. How do you know that's the line there, isn't it? So that's the branch going up to St Ives. Let's just cozy yourselves up towards the signal. You're always keeping all your fingers crossed, of course, as well, because I mean these timetable mods are absolutely brilliant, but there's always the worry that it actually isn't going to work. Ah, that's what the issue is. There we go. Always trust TSW signalling. Right, so it's signalled into the branch line, or the yeah, the terminus platform there, isn't it? Good to see the 150 in Great Western Railway livery as well. I always felt as though they missed a trick a little bit by not setting it in the modern day, but I don't know whether at the time, I don't think perhaps DTG had got the GWR licence. So now we've got the go for the semaphore. So only about 7 miles to Redruth. I don't know whether the section from St Austell to Truro is one of the longer stretches of the line without a station. I think originally, I think Rivet Games' plan was to end the route in at Redruth, but they extended it out to St Austell to give you a bit more mileage. Looking at the closer up angle there, it gives the game away that the interior is still very much LNER red. But as far as I know, I don't think there's much you can do about that on Creators Club. I mean, that would be quite something actually if they included a mod perhaps with TSW5 where you can start altering the colours of the interior. We've pretty much got a 65 mile an hour before, and now we're kind of toned down to 60 on this section, so even slower. When we do get to Penzance, the plan is I'm going to take the HSD and drive it to St Erth, so it's only about 7 or 8 minutes, and then I'm going to leave you in the hands of the game, driving us across from St Erth to St Ives, and I'll just show an outside view for that section. A steady climb. Again, if you're more of an expert of this area than me, you'll probably know exactly what the climb is, where it is. And you kind of again assume that back in the days of steam it would be quite a challenge bit of 70 mile an hour coming up. Yeah, I'm never a great fan of pointless starts, and okay, I think Penzance is a logical endpoint, no doubt about that. But Redruth, oh, there's a disused station, but Redruth just feels like a little bit of an odd place to start it. Right, almost missed the 70, haven't I? Come on, let's move up. We're slow enough as it is without not going at line speed. Feels a bit strange there. They've got the dual carriageway put in, but without any cars on it at all. Seems quiet. Kind of underlines the quiet feel about the route in general. I'd like to say I'd be rushing back to drive on this route again. Kind of hoping that with the IET, the modern timetable, it would make it feel a bit more exciting, but yeah, I've had more enjoyable drives. And this is why West Coast Mainline is so popular, because the fact is you've got something racing past you every few seconds, it feels. It's just so busy. Whereas even here with a complete full timetable, and I'm sure it is pretty complete, it's never going to be busy. Again, we've got a 40 mile an hour, but it's literally just before the station, so it's of no great concern, because I think really that only affects anything that's coming through that's not stopping at Redruth. I mean, we're obviously going to have the brakes on for the stop before then. Certainly not the worst thing in the world to drive. Getting sort of this late sort of summer's afternoon is pretty pleasant. another train alert. There's another IET. Why does it do that? There you go. Well, you can barely fit the whole of the train to the station. So has it got the right destination on there? It says it's going to Falmouth. The next station is Truro. That's nice, isn't it? Those some of those old, they were called brute lorries, weren't they? Brute wagons, them things. Of course, that was the famous British Rail passenger trolley that you kind of saw just about everywhere. Yeah, that would have made quite a nice screenshot for the thumbnail. We're, of course, the train on the other platform. Yeah, you see even the 11 carriage marker, the 12 carriage marker is way beyond the station. Quite short, these platforms. So Camborne is next, and there is a much shorter distance here. There's only 3 miles to go to Camborne. Now I know that Hale goes pretty close to the coast. I don't know whether we will get to see the coastline there. We certainly won't see it at St Erth because that's the branch line. It's a right roller coaster old journey, the one from St Erth to St Ives. I mean, this is probably totally realistic, but you just feel it's slightly on the bland side. I think if it was, I mean, it's, 5 circles, fairly quiet relatively, but it's a bit faster, so it's kind of a little bit more exciting. This feels just a little bit too slow, and I don't know whether we've got any faster bits between here and Penzance. I mean, I was quite excited for this when it first came out. I thought, well, it's quite exciting the fact that we've got Penzance in the game, and it feels like it's sort of the end of the country. There's no station or railway going beyond Penzance. Land's End is not only a few miles away. And I thought, well, we've got the branch line into St Ives as well, but it never really captured me imagination. to 70, but then we've got the stop for Camborne coming up, so kind of not really any point in increasing the speed. I spent a little bit too much time at the last station actually, just observing the other train, so that's probably why we're very slightly behind schedule. Okay, much busier on the much wider platform, isn't it? Massively wider. I don't know whether there maybe used to be a siding. I suppose there would have been, wouldn't there? There'd have been a siding for the goods traffic back in the day. Yeah, so to be fair, I think the level crossings were down when we came through it, but they have been raised because we've obviously passed it. Now, as I recall, the last signal was single yellow, and that's something to be to be aware of, and that's a potential thing to forget if you're a driver, because you come into the stop and you've concentrated on getting the stop right, and then potentially there's no signal here, so you can go absolutely full pelt ahead, and then find that the signal suddenly comes on at you as red. I mean, I'm guessing in terms of the time we've taken to get from the last signal to here, that the chances are it will have cleared by then, but again, you can't assume that. Got 5 miles to go to Hale. Right, we are green, aren't we? Green is good. There you go. And I mean, it's kind of a thing to remember, again, even if you're driving in Train Simulator, but the AWS display was our reminder as we were setting out. That's something you should always check, really. Make sure it's not showing something adverse. Now that we've got a green signal, it's now nice and clear. The old, we'll get speeding a bit here. The sunflower display. So we've got a 60 and then we've got a 50 coming up. Weird thing is, the 50, we were already at a sharp bend and it come down to 50, but I guess this bit's even sharper. Another old station. It's good to see that with all the weeds growing. It's amazing how very rarely the platforms ever get taken up. Allowed to rot into nothingness. And it's a bit like when you've been on a heritage railway, but there is constant whistle boards round these corners because, you know, we've got plenty of level crossings and plenty of situations where the train just emerges, and you know, like there at Crossing Gate, train just emerges around the corner, and probably even more prevalent with modern trains because they're not quite as noisy as the old ones used to be. Again, you just get no chance to build the speed up because here we are at 65 and you're thinking, well, that's slow enough, and then we've got a 60. Another beautiful viaduct, even more impressive on this time. First appearance of a HST. And that wasn't a short set, it was a full length HST. And I think the cross country HST is included with the reskins and the pack, but don't forget the actual amount of cross country services that actually came all the way down to Penzance are not huge. Get a few more brakes on, make sure. Again, it's one of these stations that's going to creep up on us around a corner and the platforms will be here before we know it. But many years ago we set out to go to Hale on holiday, And I'm thinking about it, it was 1985, so not exactly recently, but we were planning on stopping at this caravan site that a friend of my father's had recommended, but when we got there we weren't all that keen on it. We ended up going to Newquay. Yeah, see, I mean, some of this road stuff, I mean, you've looked at some of the more recent routes and things like with North London Line, it's come on a bit in terms of getting it look a bit more realistic. So St Erth is next, so that's only 1.5 miles away, and then we're literally only about 10 minutes away to Penzance then from St Erth. Yeah, I liked the boats and the effort that's been put in there. Quite a nice feel to it. I mean, there's always, and maybe more true of, possibly more true of Rivet games in my opinion anyway, routes than anything else. You kind of get bits where you think, that's been dead nicely done, but then there's other bits that you think, looks a bit bare. And it's all about the time and actually releasing the route in a reasonably finished state. Not sure why we got an AWS bleep, because that was a green signal, wasn't it? Let's get some brakes on though here. I tell you what, that King K's got some stamina, because he did the full journey on Train Sim Classic from Penzance to Paddington. And we got a few people waiting for us here at St Erth. Again, you can't fault the station. It looks lovely. And the red signal might be genuine here, because again we've got a bit of single track running before we get to Penzance. This is the bay platform, platform 2 for the services to St Ives. So we'll take a look at that once we come back to St Erth in a few minutes. Can we get the door locked? Okay, we've got the path then now. The semaphore signal's gone down. It's funny, isn't it? Some semaphores go down and some of them actually climb up. but either way, it means go. So ignoring the red seats, it's a very nice representation of the Great Western Railway livery. God's wonderful railway, as some people referred to it. And I think when grouping came in, because there used to be absolutely loads and loads of railway companies, but when the grouping came in 19, I'm trying to remember, 23 I think it was. I say remember as in the history books, not rather than being alive at that time. But I think it was one of the few railway companies that kind of was intact, because they formed together they merged a load of smaller companies, so we ended up with Great Western Railway, London Midland Scottish, LNER, and Southern Railway, as well as GWR. Tell you what, having a working, there's one fix that they could make for this. Having a working cruise control on this route would be an absolute godsend, because it really is undulating. Might still make it into Penzance on time, although I think the speed limit does come down quite a bit for the latter stage. And to say, remarkably, this will be my first ever complete run from St Erth, from St Austell to Penzance, and I bought it more or less as soon as it came out. I don't think I bought it immediately. It was kind of, once I watched the preview stream, I wasn't kind of like buzzing for it as much as I was when I read in advance of it coming out. Before we actually get into the platforms at Penzance, you have that depot on the right, and that certainly hosts the night Riviera. Carriages, you know, ready for the return working. And it's good that that's still a thing, that it's still a tradition. You can get, here you go, this is the yard, and this is the exciting bit. There's St Michael's Mount. That is lovely, isn't it? It's kind of worth having the route just for that bit, really. And it does very much feel like Journey's End at Penzance. As I say, it's only a few miles away from Land's End. A rare example of a little bit of clickety-clack coming into the platform, so we must have a bit of fish-plated track here. I think it's about 5 hours or so from Paddington to Penzance, and even then I think most of the long distance ones actually don't stop at Bristol Temple Meads. I think they actually avoid Bristol entirely. We've signalled into platform 3. We've got a bit of sand here as well. See the Penzance and the buildings in the distance. This is undoubtedly the interesting part of the route, and as I say, the line to St Ives is quite nice as well. So it'd be nice if we got a HST in here, because I want to do the HST on the run up to St Erth again. If it isn't, then we'll find a service that will do us. I bet it's another IET. To be fair, pretty soon you're not going to see even the HSTs on this route. I always think it's quite quaint, the fact that we've got a shelter bit, a bit that's undercover, because it's only for the last part, the last few yards, almost like as an afterthought, really. Having said that, Norwich is a bit like that as well. Always something a bit satisfying about coming towards the buffer stops, Journey's End. It says we've gone way past the yardage, but I don't know, I think you've kind of got to go to the end of the platform, haven't you? The old star monitors, so services for Cardiff, Plymouth, London Paddington, Exeter St David's, Plymouth, Bristol Temple Meads, Plymouth, Exeter St David's, London Paddington. Some of these things could almost be a postcard view, couldn't they? Well, I can hear the whir of something a little bit noisier. I think we've got a HST waiting, so we're going to take that out. Only as far as St Erth, so it should be the 1750. There you go, platform 1. And we've got an IET waiting. It's presumably the one we just brought in, actually. Let's have a wander at the platform. This is probably the most exciting part of this route, really. I mean, the stretch past St Michael's Mount from Penzance is absolutely glorious. Just a shame there isn't a bit more coastline. That's kind of why 5 Circle's more exciting, really. Well, I'm glad to find we haven't got a... Usually you have to kick out the AI passenger, but we have driver, but we haven't got a AI driver in this case, so that's good. and we are going to get started. So master key unlocked, get that into forward. We'll have the gauge dimmer on so we can see the controls nicely. And what have we got? Choice of headlights. Day, I think probably day headlamp and markers then, really. It's only a short ride to St Erth, and then we're going to take the shuttle to St Ives. And there you go, there, St Michael's Mount. Well, it's quite a treat to see that it's been modelled in such detail, actually. Fairly slow out of Penzance. Hear the old whirring, can't you, of the air conditioning on those Mark III carriages, which is quite a treat in its own right. Spectacular this time of the evening, isn't it? On a summer's night. Now we can get a bit of speed up. We are good for 70 miles an hour. It's only just over 4.5 miles to go to St Erth. I mean, in real life I've done both legs of the journey from Paddington to Penzance. I did that on the Night Riviera, and then I've done the return journey on the HST a few years back the following day. A very pleasant ride, nice sedate journey. Familiar blast of the sort of the diesel from both ends of the train. I presume that's meant to be the Night Riviera carriages. Waited to take the London bound service later on in the evening. I have to say, I think that would make a really good pack, because there'd be a market for it really, because you could use it on this route for the Night Riviera trains. You could use it on Great Western Express out of Paddington, presumably on any future extension as well, whatever comes in store for TSW5, but also it would be great for the West Coast Mainline as well from a few years back, and we've already got the 87 which would be perfect for it really. So I'd love to have some proper sleeper carriages. I can't see them doing the Mark 5 ones because that'd be a little bit more limited, the repertoire, but that would be really, really nice if they could produce a pack which had the sleepers on. Certainly can't complain about the livery, can you, on the Great Western Railway trains, and very, very classy. I love the fact that there is a kind of an inkling with the past a little bit. I mean, of course, back in steam days, it was only the locos that were painted in green. The carriages brown and cream. But I think that would look a bit slightly odd, wouldn't it, with the power cars in green and the Mark III coaches in brown and cream. I wonder if they tried that when they were they must have been modelling how it would look like on some sort of computer design in advance. You can obviously do the St Austell to Penzance and the HST as well in this timetable pack. And reminding yourselves that the brakes not quite as responsive as on the IET that we've just driven. Having said that, I think I've overdone it a little bit. I mean, we're still well, I don't know, that might be about right actually. We're less than 1,000 yards, aren't we? It doesn't look too dark on the screen. I sometimes find with OBS Studio that it's slightly darker on the recording than on than it looks to me on the telly. And that might be partly about the settings I've got on the telly, though. Perhaps I've just got it set a little bit brighter. Ease ourselves into St Erth station. This is the junction station. I mean, again, it's kind of suggesting that the stop marker is already past, but it can't be. That far down surely, because we wouldn't fit the train in. Which I'll back up by having a little look actually. Yeah, there you are, you see, we're not even got the whole train in. And again, it's a little bit of a flaw of the game that it's opened the back coaches. I mean, I presume in real life that the whole train wouldn't fit into the platform. There's no St Ives train waiting there, so we might have a little bit of a wait. Let's see if it shows up on the board. There you are, 1818, that's our train that we want, platform 3 for St Ives. Okay, so let's have a wander out to platform 3 and the branch line, and we've got a Great Western liveried 150 coming in for the St Ives train. By rights, everybody should be getting off, but for some reason, TSW, they are refusing to get off, but never mind. Let's take a seat. There we go. So what we're going to do at this stage then, we're going to leave it there in terms of me talking about it. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you could join us for the live streams on Sunday, we go live at 5 o'clock for 4 hours of Train Sim World action and try and have a bit of fun as well. But if you've enjoyed the video, you're new to the channel and you consider liking and subscribing, then please do so. I'd be tremendously grateful. And we're not too far away from Train Sim World 6 now. There's plenty of exciting stuff just around the corner. But for now, from Power Flower Trains and Planes, it's goodbye.